Welkom bij Valuejagers podcast. De podcast over beleggen en goedkope aandelen.
Hello everybody, welcome to a new podcast from Value for Life Crypto. With us again, Domenic Carosa from Banxa. My point of view, Banxa still is the cheapest crypto stock on earth. And Domenic is going to walk us through the presentation to prove my point. Welcome to the show, Domenic.
Thanks for having me again, Ronald. And so maybe what I'd like to do is just sort of start by giving a bit of an overview on the company and what our whole mission is. Our whole mission is really about democratizing finance and really about onboarding the next billion people to crypto. And what Banxa does really as an organization is provides the platforms, what we call the fiat on-ramps, the fiat off-ramps that connect the existing fiat world, the Euro, Canadian, US dollar world with the digital asset world. We're actually the world's first stock exchange listed fintech service provider, RegTech company in the space. Our business model is B2B focused. And just to give you some sort of key corporate metrics, market cap of around 100 million US, our revenues around the 80 million US mark annualized. And so on that basis, we're trading well under 2 times revenue to enterprise value. And I'm sure for the viewers out there, they're seeing similar companies trading it in double digits, which go to your point around the valuation of the company. Right now, we're listed on the TSXV and the OTCQX. And as we've mentioned to the marketplace, we have already commenced our NASDAQ listing. And we think that's really the opportunity where we will be able to achieve better value and full value for the company sometime this year as we migrate from the TSXV to NASDAQ. In terms of what the company does, and I'm going to take you through just very high level around what we do. There are 4 core pillars in the organization. First of all, we bring together a number of both global and local payments together. We wrap that with our regulatory licenses. So for example, here in the Netherlands with the DNB, we own a crypto license as well as a custody license. And then that's all underpinned by our data science and automation platform and coin delivery platform that effectively runs the entire business from start to finish. And if you want to put us into a box, Banxa is like the PayPal for the crypto industry. And there's many, many reasons why the industry chooses us. Ultimately, we have the most ways to pay because we do both local and global payment methods. So for example, in the Netherlands, we do Ideal. We know our competitors don't do that. And then there's a whole bunch of other technical reasons why they use us. We then plug in our technology, our payment and RegTech infrastructure into global crypto to crypto exchanges, like Binance and KuCoin and Huobi and many, many other global players. So really powering the next generation of fintechs. And from a growing perspective, we're going to continue building out, TTV, B2B customers, acquiring more licenses around the world. And as you can see from this slide, the crypto market and the stablecoin market that we currently operate in is really a $3 trillion market. There are significant opportunities in the metaverse, as well as blockchain gaming and NFTs. And these are new opportunities for Banxa. But really, when you take it down to its core, it's converting fiat into a token. Whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or a metaverse token or an NFT, it's utilizing the same underlying technology. The way that we measure performance in the company is through a measure we call TTV, total transaction value. And for the December quarter, we just did just shy of 600 million. So just over $500 million of transaction value, which basically related to, for the first half, for the 31st of December 2021, we generated $40 million of revenue. As you can see on the slide, we did 46 million for the whole financial year 21. And we're already at 40 million for this new financial year. And we work on the 30th of June financial year. So from a highlight perspective, we just released the numbers overnight, just under $1 billion transaction volume for the half, 40 million for revenue. And from a cash perspective, we've got about $26 million of liquid assets. So very, very strong balance sheet, an adjusted EBITDA loss and a small stat loss which we're comfortable with. It includes a number of non-cash items. In terms of EBITDA performance, adjusted EBITDA is minus 1.3. Frankly, any cash we get, we're reinvesting back into the company. We have about 100 B2B customers. The universe is thousands. So we're just scratching the surface in terms of the overall opportunity. And then obviously we've got the appropriate balance sheet that allows us to do that. We've got, as I mentioned, 26 million of cash and cash equivalents, and there's no debt on the balance sheet. So very, very clean balance sheet. And from an adjusted cash perspective, positive operating of just over $1 million. So really, at a high level, without going into each one of these points, because this is available on the Banxa.com website. If investors want to get exposure to crypto without actually owning the underlying Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the other coins, then Banxa as a bridge between the fiat world and the digital asset world, in my view, is a good way to get exposure to crypto. So that's really let's call it the formal part of the presentation, and definitely happy to take any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much for this introduction. I was wondering, you say you are the fiat on-ramp and off-ramp for crypto. The off-ramp is relatively new. How is the volume compared to the on-ramp? So how do you see a big difference between fiat to crypto or crypto to fiat?
It's roughly 98% is fiat on-ramping, 2% roughly is fiat off-ramping. There is much more interest because there's billions of dollars moving into the space and not really a lot of money moving out of the space or the sector. Hence, in that respect, we've really been focusing on building out the on-ramps in more places around the world. We're now moving into Latin America, a number of Asian countries, as well as the US as well, which is a very, very big opportunity for the company. So we will continue doing that. And you may ask, well, why? And this is maybe a slide that I can talk to. We're really the connector, between the traditional finance part of the market, whether it's the big banks, the fintechs, or the centralized exchanges, and the whole Web3 opportunity, not only in crypto, but increasingly NFTs, DeFi, and the metaverse. And as Web3 continues to grow, Banxa is really there. It's a bit like the tollway example. When someone drives onto a tollway and they drive off a tollway, they basically clip the ticket. When someone uses Banxa, we basically clip the ticket. And that's really our business model. It's a transactional-based revenue model. So as the industry grows, we grow as well.
Yeah. Why shouldn't the traditional finance, the big banks, and so why shouldn't they develop their own fiat on-ramp and off-ramp structure?
Yeah, we've got 8 years of experience in the space, and in fact, we are working with some large neobanks and banks that we'll obviously announce in due course, because there's a couple of things. One is we've built technology that runs the business over the last 8 years. We have deep expertise in the space, and we have payment methods that span the world. And if there's a bank in a particular region, they may be able to do off-ramps in euro, but we do euro, Canadian dollars, US dollars, Australian dollars, and we handle over 100 different currencies. And so, in effect, ultimately, it makes better sense for those fintechs and those banks to work with Banxa, because through a single API, which is just another fancy name for a technical connection, we can just give them access to all the key assets in Web3 with the click of a button.
So it's more on the background, or is it visible for the users of the traditional banks?
Yeah, it all happens in the background. In my view, the best way from a consumer perspective is when you're using Banxa and you don't even know you're using Banxa behind the scenes. It all happens. You don't have to worry about blockchain fees or gas fees. And it's literally, you click a button with your euro or your US dollar, and then 2 minutes later, you've got your Bitcoin, Ethereum, or your favorite NFT or your favorite DeFi coin. That's really the whole magic around Banxa, is about trying to make that process really simple without all the hops. required and without having to be a technical genius.
And do you see what's the most important Web3 currency? Is it Bitcoin or Ethereum, or is it also NFTs and DeFi tokens that are gaining traction?
Where we're actually seeing a lot of traction is in stable coins. So people being able to buy stable coins as a way to move in and out of different currencies, and at the same time, Bitcoin and Ethereum still maintain their place in the universe of coins. But increasingly, we're seeing many more opportunities in DeFi, where people are buying coins that actually generate a yield, or buying coins that they can stake, in effect, also generate a yield. But we see also tremendous value in the metaverse, in the decentralized metaverse. We know Facebook is doing and working on initiatives in the metaverse that's going to be very much centralized. My view is, the future is decentralized.
And do you see that now, or is that something you expect for the future?
For the future, we've already started seeing groups like Decentraland, Sandbox, which are basically Web3 applications in the metaverse, already worth billions and billions of dollars. And it's only a matter of time until they actually have a market cap significantly more than Facebook.
Value for life. Levenslang beleggen in ondergewaardeerde aandelen. U betaalt 1 keer een activatie en ontvangt continu tips en updates. Voor altijd. Ontdek Value for Life via valuejagers.com/value-for-life.
Because I think people are waking up and realizing that the Web3 in a decentralized world is a much better place to be than a place like Facebook, which is completely centralized, where they own your information. You don't have control of it at the end of the day. So we see Web3 as being really about democratizing finance, democratizing content as well.
Okay, very interesting to hear. So I was thinking, I guess Banxa isn't the only one doing this, but you're the only one that's on the stock exchange. Do you see Banxa evolving more quickly than your other competitors?
We're certainly growing very, very quickly. There are a number of private company competitors in the space, and given that the company is listed, it actually helps us win business, because there's a certain credibility that comes from being a listed company, and my view is that's positive for us. At the same time, the whole crypto industry is growing very, very rapidly as well, and so being public with a strong balance sheet just really allows us to go and tap these new opportunities, working with partners, and you're going to see us sign up many, many new customers over the next couple of years.
Okay. When you look at when I look at private crypto companies, they get a much higher valuation as a private company compared to the companies that are on the stock exchange. Does that mean Banxa is a takeover target, or how come Banxa is so cheaply valued against non-public companies? And in general, maybe other crypto stocks have the same problem at the moment. The private companies are valued way more than they are on the stock exchange.
I think that that difference in valuation will narrow over time. There has certainly been a lot of euphoria in the private company and private company valuations. And in fact, I talk to investors that invest in both private and public, and their view is that the private company market is overheated with some really crazy valuations. And he, as a specific investor, has been going back into public companies because he can actually see them being significantly undervalued as compared to their private company peers. And as I mentioned, we're trading less than 2 times revenue to market cap. And if you look at the actual overall industry, in the public company space, the average is around 10. So, double digits. So there's opportunity for us to grow in that. And then if we compare ourselves to some of the private company comparables, we would be valued if we were private, in the billions, not in the hundreds of millions. We think that the step to NASDAQ will be a really important step for us. NASDAQ will open us up to significantly more investor liquidity. The US is a much deeper market. There are research firms that just focus on the crypto space, as opposed to, in Canada, where you've got analysts covering, crypto and mining and other industrials. And so, we think that is a very important step for the company as a way of really building value for shareholders.
Is buying back own shares maybe a possibility? Because I see some crypto companies are publicly traded, are buying back their own stocks, like Voyager Digital and CoinSmart and a few other. I find it amazing that some so young companies can buy back own shares. So is that something Banxa is considering?
In fact, we had a board meeting this morning. We actually discussed that very point. Obviously, I can't make any suggestions with regards to what we're going to do as an organization. What I can say is the board is actively looking at that as a strategy.
Okay, good to hear. Maybe one last question regarding the situation, geopolitical, Ukraine war. Do you see any impact on your business from that, or in crypto in general?
At this stage, zero impact. Bitcoin and Ethereum is bigger than any geopolitical issue or any war. Not to say that war is insignificant. In fact, I'm not a big fan of war at all. Make love, not war is one of my, John Lennon saying. At this stage, there's no impact. I think over time, more and more countries will move towards making Bitcoin legal tender. I think that's good for the overall industry. And at the same time, with greater uncertainty going across the world, I personally think there will be a flight to gold, silver, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. That's my bet.
Okay, yeah, I think so too. I think, but I was just wondering. Let's say the Russians use Bitcoin to evade the sanctions. Shouldn't that be a negative impact on Bitcoin, because it's a reason for the West to abandon it?
I think if they start using that as a way to get around the sanctions, the Bitcoin price will be $500,000, because there actually isn't enough Bitcoin to go around. And we also know the Russians hold one of the largest stockpiles of physical gold as well. And I'll come back to my earlier statement. I think, Bitcoin, Ethereum, this whole ecosystem is much bigger than any country or anything going on today or in the future. It's been battle tested as a technology, as a store of value, as a way to transmit value to other parts of the world. But that's just really only one part of the overall ecosystem. Putting aside Bitcoin, Ethereum, NFTs, the ability to allow creators to generate new revenue streams from their work, from their art, from their music. DeFi, really allowing anyone to become their own bank, their own financial institution online, an ability to buy, lend, generate yield significantly greater than the kind of yields that the traditional banks that can provide. So, it's much more than just Bitcoin, Ethereum. There are, significantly other layers around the blockchain technology. And that's why I'm involved in the sector. I find it fascinating, and ultimately, believe in the technology and believe in the maths behind the technology.
Okay, that's good to hear. So we will keep following Banxa. I see you announce regularly new partners, new coins. So the company is alive and kicking. We will continue to give updates to our readers, and I hope to speak to you in the future again. Thank you very much, Domenic, and keep on the good work.
Thank you very much.
Valuejagers podcast. Te beluisteren via de 3 grootste podcastplatformen ter wereld: YouTube, Spotify en iTunes. En vergeet niet om onze gratis aandelentip te downloaden via valuejagers.com/podcast. Het is een spotgoedkoop aandeel dat steeds populairder wordt dankzij de sterk groeiende podcastindustrie.